Today marks day 63 of the Blackfeet tribe's stay-at-home order. They're waiting to remind people that all restrictions still stay the same, wanting to remind people all restrictions stay the same, and they're asking people to wear a mask when in public. The tribe was recently approved for over $30 million from the federal government as part of coronavirus funding. We spoke with James McNeely, the public information officer of the tribe, who says the money will be going to COVID-19 prevention.
And that would be, making sure that we have adequate testing supplies, personal protective equipment, and other things related to this outbreak. And we'll get a more definite plan put in place here as we go along.
And overall, Montana tribes will be receiving more than $172 million from the federal government. Well, the two methods to determine whether one specific person has or had COVID-19 is through a nasal swab test or through a blood test to determine if the person is carrying the antibodies for the virus. But what about the community as a whole? One way the city of Helena is testing for COVID-19 is by looking at wastewater. MTN's Sam Hoyle has more.
When you use the bathroom, it's easy. You take care of your business, you flush, wash your hands, and walk away. But behind the scenes, the wastewater the city of Helena is producing is being tested for COVID-19. Though the test isn't the end-all, be-all of determining factors for showing whether COVID-19 is in a community, according to Disease Control and Prevention Administrator for Lewis and Clark County, Eric Merchant, it's a good start.
If we're seeing 0 tests come back positive, and we don't see it in the city or in the wastewater, that's fantastic. That's fantastic data. That's what we're seeing right now. If we do start to see it, then we can make that decision. Hey, it's important that we draw back right now because we're starting to see this disease. And it's just one of many indicators.
But how does it work? Wastewater goes to the treatment facility, and then from there, a sample of the water is taken approximately every hour by this machine right outside the intake, and then is sent off to BioBot, a company that specializes in wastewater epidemiology, which is defined by the Center of Disease Control as the method used to find the causes of health outcomes and diseases in populations, so BioBot can screen the sample for COVID-19. As of right now, the city of Helena has sent off 3 samples to BioBot and received results for 2 which show no presence of COVID-19 in the wastewater, but that's only half of the data, as results from the test only show the city of Helena, which accounts for approximately 46% of the residents in Lewis and Clark County. Another issue is funding. Right now, the tests are being covered by a grant through the end of May. After that, each test will cost $1,200, and though the money hasn't been budgeted yet, if the data being provided is worth the cost, Mark Fitzwater, the supervisor for the wastewater treatment plant in Helena, said they'll find the money.
If we think it's worthwhile, we will continue with the samples and we'll find the money somehow, but as far as sampling weekly, we're not sure yet.
Though the test can show the presence of COVID-19 in a certain community, it's not a hyper-focused test, which is why it's just one of the many criteria moving forward for Lewis and Clark County.
There's too many factors there to really use it as a laser strategy, like focus in on something. We're using it more as that population indicator, overall public health tool for evaluating this.
In Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN News.
Well, linemen continue to work to restore power to several areas north of Geyser. According to Fergus Electric Cooperative, 18 poles broke overnight Wednesday thanks to snow and heavy winds in the area. Fergus General Manager Scott Sweeney said that his crews worked until almost midnight last night and they were back working early again this morning. Sweeney expects the remaining power outages to be fixed by the end of the night tonight.
We had 18 poles break off north of Geyser, and we got half of them replaced yesterday, and we got, maybe a third of the people northeast of Geyser back in power, and we've got 8 linemen up there this morning, and they should have that repaired by dark tonight. They should have their power back on.
And they ask that if you do see a down power line, stay away from it because it could still be running electricity. Well, rain cleared out early in the day yesterday, but it's come back once again today. Brandon Michaels joins us now. Brandon, you're still tracking some showers and storms this evening. Yeah, a pretty good line of rain is set up kind of right across north central Montana right now. We'll take a look at the Doppler network to start things off here this evening. Showers and probably some thunderstorms embedded in there too, mainly to the east of Great Falls there. And then the heaviest rain is actually falling in Phillips and Valley counties. That is going to be pushing toward the Glasgow area fairly soon. So a good portion of those areas getting some decent rain. We'll kind of zoom out a little bit. We don't really see too much behind that main line in general. That's what we're focused on right now. That's where the heaviest rain is going to be. And we have picked up some pretty good routes of rain so far today. Again, that heaviest rain hasn't pushed into places like Glasgow as of yet, but it will soon. But a third of an inch in Great Falls.
Falls, not too much in Helena, just a couple of showers earlier in the day, same with places like Havre and Cutbank and Lewistown. Looking outside in Helena, still pretty gloomy out there, although we have seen some peaks of sunshine through the day. North wind at 6 miles per hour behind a cold front and 58 degrees, so it is still a little on the chilly side. Great Falls looking pretty gloomy too. Still a little bit of water on the roadways there. 49, so pretty chilly in Great Falls right now. Good news, nicer weather in the forecast to start the weekend, and we're going to talk about that later in the show.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Well, Smoked American Barbecue in Great Falls was ahead of the game when it came to stopping their dine-in food services back in March. Even then, they knew that shifting to a takeout only during a global pandemic would be a tough road. MTN's Matt Holzaffel checked in with them to see how things are going.
We want to survive, and we want to be here when it's done. I'll be honest, it was phenomenal. You know, the local support was great. We always do a good lunch crowd, but we started seeing a lot of new faces.
Trevor Kavanaugh and the other workers at Smoked American Barbecue weren't exactly sure how business would be during the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, we're selling out every day. There's certain days where we're over 500 pounds of meat a day.
Even with business going well, staying afloat is harder than normal.
We didn't raise our prices on anything, and prices have definitely gone up. Beef prices are going through the roof, so it's pretty unfair to the local producers. But our costs were up by about $10,000 over a normal month last month.
That includes the price of meat, but also sanitation supplies and personal protective equipment like masks and gloves. As they try to return to a sense of normalcy, Trevor said he understands things might not be the same for a while.
We're keeping it in the same fashion. You know, I feel that there's a large segment of the population that's very uneasy being in with a large crowd.
The way they do business may change in the long term, but the one thing that won't change is the value of community support.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you always felt that there was a community feel downtown, and the people who work downtown always supported you. But what we started seeing was people who'd never been in the restaurant before and coming in to buy something, not necessarily because they felt like they needed to eat barbecue, but because they felt like they wanted to support a restaurant.
In Great Falls, Matt Holzaffel, MTN News.
Trevor says they have added some socially distanced outdoor seating as well as hand sanitizing stations. Well, as summer approaches, some are turning to a more socially distant way to take their planned family vacations. Sales of RVs and motorhomes have been rising steadily since shelter-in-place measures started. Dealers say they can provide families with a safe way to get away. Many have their own kitchens and bathrooms. The low price of gas is also giving the RV industry a boost. Still, potential RVers will want to do their research before hitting the road. Different states have different rules about camping and RV parks. Montana's primary ballots are in the mail. Before you fill yours out, we have a look at the Republican hopefuls for Montana's lone U.S. House seat.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 530 News continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. This week, as part of MTN's series on contested statewide primary election races, we're examining the crowded field vying for Montana's open U.S. House seat. Today, Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison gives us a closer look at the Republicans running for this seat, all 6 of them.
Montana's only U.S. House seat is open because incumbent Republican Greg Gianforte is running for governor. 6 Republicans are trying to succeed him, and the one to beat in the June 2nd primary is State Auditor and Insurance Commissioner Matt Rosendale. Rosendale has raised $1.3 million in campaign funds, far more